I'm looking around, I'm seeing some county chairs from the Central Texas Alliance, all the county chairs that I'm aware of. Got Guadalupe County, Cunningham County, Taylor County, Hayes County. So these county chairs are going to be pivotal in some of the district conventions. So we're looking forward to hearing what you candidates have to say going forward to the district convention. So we're excited about this opportunity. So thank you guys, each and every one of you, guys and gals who took some time out of your busy schedules to come to New Braunfels, Texas. We're glad to have you. Comal County is the county hosting tonight. That's my county. We're excited about everything and the growth that we've seen coming into this election cycle. So we're just happy to have this opportunity to hear you guys out on the issues. So without further ado, we want to get started. I'm going to ask our moderator, Mr. Kurt Hildebrand, to please come up. And let's give a round of applause for him.
Hi. Thanks everybody for coming out. Really appreciate this. Just want to echo Tim's comments. We're just so happy that we've got so many contested races this year in the Libertarian Party election cycle. I think it really shows just how much excitement there is and how much enthusiasm there is in this new wave of libertarianism that's rising. So we're just really, really pleased to have this kind of an opportunity to have a candidate forum with 2 contested congressional district races for U.S. Congress. I will be your moderator for tonight. My name is Kurt Hildebrand. I'm the chair of the Hayes County Libertarian Party. And this is, I want to thank also Mr. Martinez for hosting. Tim is obviously our Comal County chair, and Comal County is hosting this event. We're really, really grateful for that. Fantastic venue, great job putting this all together. And this was kind of this event was kind of the brainchild of a group of county organizations in Central Texas that we're calling loosely the Central Texas Libertarian Alliance, and it's the 5 organized counties in the Central Texas and the Hill Country. That's Bexar, Travis, Hayes, Comal, and Guadalupe. So this is something we wanted to do. I'm really glad that we were able to put it together sort of relatively short notice and get so many candidates to turn out as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first panel of candidates, and we're going to be dealing with the Texas Congressional District 21 race first, and then we'll move on to CD15. So I'd like to welcome, first and foremost, David Cunningham, candidate for CD21. Mark Loewe, candidate for CD21. And Ryan Shields. You all threw me off a little bit there with the way you said it. I'm sorry. We rolled some punches. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to introduce the debate format that we're going to be using, and then I'm going to introduce a little bit about the actual congressional district that we're talking about, the geography, and some of the background or history. So first and foremost, our debate format is going to be as follows. We're going to have approximately 30 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes of actual speaking time during this debate in each of the 2 sessions for CD21 and CD15. We're going to start with each candidate giving a brief 2-minute opening statement. I'm going to serve as both your moderator and your timekeeper, so I apologize. I may have a couple of delays here. I'm going to be adding up the time, making sure that everybody gets to talk for an equal amount. We're going to start with a brief 2-minute opening statement from each candidate. Then we're going to go into a question and answer period. I'll start by asking a few questions of our panel. Then we'll give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions of the panel. And then we'll give a brief opportunity for the candidates to question each other. In all cases, the answers will be 1 minute, and I'll be keeping the time and keeping track of, that everyone's, please respect your time limits. And then we'll wrap up with a brief 2-minute closing statement. So U.S. Congressional District 21 is a newly created, or rather newly recreated district from the redistricting process that happened in 2012, which of course was very contentious, went through the courts. Ultimately, the plan number 235 was approved, although it was looking, in that election cycle like it might actually get struck down. But the way that CB21 is laid out today, it's actually one of those kind of oddly shaped districts that goes all the way up into Travis County, goes down through my county, Hayes, all the way down, encompassing Comal County, that's where we are now, all the way down into San Antonio. And then it kind of explodes westward to capture several rural counties: Blanco, Kendall, Bandera, Kerr, Gillespie, and Real. So it's a very diverse mix of different demographics. Large rural area combined with two different urban areas and connected through the I-35 corridor is really the only way to describe it. It's an interesting geography to have to run in and to have to deal with. The current incumbent is a guy by the name of Lamar Smith. Exactly. Who is, not very well liked, I would say, in libertarian circles. There are 6 candidates currently listed on Ballotpedia. I don't know if any others have filed. I believe not. But there are 6 candidates and no Democrat running in this race. So regardless of what happens, Democrats have apparently given up on CD21. And this is an interesting phenomenon that we've seen this election cycle because of all the gerrymandering. There are actually a not insignificant, let me just put it that way, number of districts where either the Democrats or the Republicans have just completely given up. They're not even running a candidate. They're not even contesting it, which puts us in a very interesting position of being the only opposition to an incumbent. And I think that's a good place for us to be. So there are 3 Republicans and 3 Libertarians that are listed as the 6 candidates in current file. And after today, of course, we'll know whether our opponent in this race will be Matt McCall, the incumbent Lamar Smith, or a gentleman by the name of Michael J. Smith, although for obvious reasons, Lamar Smith is a heavy favorite. So, without further ado, I don't want to preempt any of the other comments that our candidates might want to make. So without further ado, I will go ahead and we'll go in, I'll try to mix the order up. It may not be perfectly randomized, but I'll try to mix it up from time to time. But we're going to just go ahead and start with David Cunningham with your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you, Tim, for all your efforts in getting us here. As Kurt said, I'm David Cunningham. I spent most of my adult life serving in the Marine Corps and the United States Army. I have fought for freedom and liberty, and I'm sad to say that I'm seeing some of those efforts being chipped away on a daily basis. Being in the military, you are apolitical. You have no political affiliation whatsoever. You are neither Democrat, Republican, nor Libertarian, or independent. Independent in the military is a party. So you have to be very careful with your beliefs in the military. The reason I decided to run for this particular office, when I was in graduate school the first time, first master's was in international relations. I look around the world and I see that liberties are being granted to countries, let's say the Ukraine, for instance, and those same liberties don't hold true for us. We seem to be so focused on ensuring that democracy and freedoms reign in other parts of the world and not here at home.
15 seconds, Mr. Cunningham.
I understand. But we as libertarians, I feel, need to make sure that we don't mimic the Democrats or the Republicans.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Mr. Shields, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Shields, also a candidate for District 21. Live in North Bexar County with my beautiful family. And I've also noticed the will of the people is not being represented in Washington, but the will of the special interest groups. And as a member of the House of Representatives, our main job is to go out to talk to our constituents, take that collective voice to Washington, and pass legislation based on your constituents. But what we've seen is special interest groups lobbying our House of Representatives to vote their way and not with the will of the people. So I vowed to be the people's candidate, to actually work in Bexar County, not live in Washington. I plan on going to Washington when votes need to be cast, when committees are in session. Other than that, I'll be here in Bexar County, in Comal County, Gillespie County, Hayes County, Kendall, Real, all over. But I will be a member of the House of Representatives. And I believe as such, I will be representing the people. And I need to know those people. And I will not be interested in big oil companies, big healthcare companies, big any companies. I don't care. My care is right here in this room, right outside. Not the guys with the big money in Washington.
15 seconds, Mr. Shields.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. And Mr. Loewe, your opening statement, please, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Kurt. I'm a doctor of physics and a chemist, co-authored a graduate-level textbook on quantum mechanics, taught physics at UT and Texas State University, do microelectronics research and development, and helped to develop a tiny on-wheel air compressor to maintain proper car tire pressure. I wrote House Bill 2959 for Texas to acquire very low-cost math and science textbooks for children to keep permanently. Bills based on my proposal were introduced in 4 sessions of the Texas legislature. I also devised a variant of school vouchers that Nobel laureate Milton Friedman liked. School vouchers would empower millions of parents, especially poor parents and parents of children with special needs, to reject mediocre schools and choose safe schools that better serve the individual needs, abilities, and interests of their children. In 2011, Congress gave away $454 billion of interest on our federal debt. That's more than $1,400 per capita, including children. Lamar Smith has voted multiple times to increase the limit on the federal debt by a total of roughly $7 trillion. Lamar Smith is a federal debt addict. Voters should no longer support Lamar Smith's immensely harmful addiction. If elected, I promise not to vote for any bill that would increase the federal debt unless I first announce that I might do so and give voters the chance to elect somebody else instead. I don't foresee ever doing that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all our debaters. I think that really kind of sets a tone, and definitely some key differences there I noticed in the opening statements, which I want to touch on here in a moment and kind of drill down into some of the points that you all chose to focus on in your opening remarks. But before I do that, I want to ask a more general, more generic question. You're all running as libertarians, and I'm wondering, with regard to the Libertarian National Platform and the State of Texas Libertarian National Platform, if there are any areas where you disagree with that platform, or if you fully agree with the platform as written today, And particularly, I think it's interesting for a candidate for U.S. Congress, a federal position, where you strike that balance between if there are any differences between the national or the state platform, where you feel, given that this is a national position but representing the state of Texas, where you feel that distinction lies, or which you feel is more important. So I'd like to give you each up to a minute if you need it, just to answer that question. And let's just go in reverse order this time, starting with Mr. Loewe.
Thank you, Kurt. I was a delegate to the state conventions of the Texas Libertarian Party in 2010 and 2012, and participated in voting on amendments to the state platform. There were some amendments that I voted against, some that I voted for, and I'm sure that some passed that I would not have liked to have seen passed. I don't happen to have any particular planks in the platform that I'd like to point out, but there's one thing for sure, and that is that our platform is far superior to those of the major parties. If you look at the relatively short Texas state platform, it is really a very nice document on the whole.
10 seconds. Okay, thanks, Mr. Loewe. And the same question to you, Mr. Shields.
Well, I actually followed the federal standards of the Libertarian Party. When I was searching for a party to run, I didn't know if I was going to be independent. I knew I wasn't going to be a Democrat. And I was back and forth between independent independent Republican or Libertarian. And I already had my platform written out. I wrote a fair tax and balanced budget amendment that I'm planning on introducing into Congress. Myself, along with several other members of the House of Representatives, plan on repealing Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act it's already shown its weakness, and I had planned on it before, and it came to fruition. And then also in the Federal Reserve, reintroducing the Marijuana Tax Act, protecting people's private decisions from government intrusion, making across-the-board budget cuts, and increasing oversight in government spending, which I believe falls right in line with the federal libertarian platform.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. And the same question to you, Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you. Kurt, there are two areas in the platform that give me rise, but there's nothing that I disagree with. Those two areas being regulatory guidelines. I don't want lead in my milk when I drink it. Obviously, there should be some regulation. So I think that should be well defined. I also have a master's in marriage and family therapy. I think medical marijuana is great for adults. But kids and children who are still in developmental stages, we need to be shy of blatantly saying that medical marijuana is, something that ought to be had. We should define where to stop it.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Okay, and then this should be a quick one. Along those same lines, the Libertarian Party has something called a candidate agreement. And the candidate agreement essentially says, among other things, it says that the candidate has read the Libertarian Party of Texas platform, understands the planks, and unless identified below, will not deviate from those principles while campaigning. And also that you understand that the services provided by the Libertarian Party of Texas, as identified in our candidate handbook, are a particular scope, and that I will not expect any more than that scope to be provided to me as a candidate from the party. So my first question is, have you signed a candidate agreement, or would you sign this candidate agreement if you haven't already? Mr. Shields?
Yes.
And have you?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
You have done so?
I,
Or you would?
oh,
You would? And Mr. Loewe?
I have not seen the agreement. I will take a look at it. I do not necessarily agree to sign it without studying it. Thank you.
Fair enough. And I won't mark anybody down for time on that one. All right. So in that case, I'd like to drill into some of the points that you guys have talked about thus far. So, starting with Mr. Shields, I want to make sure I clarify something. I took a note here, and I want to make sure I wrote it down correctly. Did you say that prior to filing as a Libertarian candidate for CD21, that you were not sure whether you wanted to file as an independent versus a Democrat? Is that what I heard you say?
No, Republican.
Independent versus Republican?
Yes. I definitely wouldn't have been a Democrat.
Okay. I got that wrong. I'm glad I checked. So in that case, let me ask you this question and give you about a minute to respond to it. When you were trying to decide whether to be, and this was during the question about whether or not you agree with the platform that you made this comment. So I want to give you an opportunity to follow up on that and make sure we all understand. When you were deciding whether to be an independent or Republican, how is it that you came around to be to filing as a Libertarian?
Well, when I was looking at the three options that I had in front of me, filing as an independent, you're out there on your own. You have independent voters, but there's really no party backing you, so it's all you. I looked at the Republican Party, which I've voted Republican, most of my life. But when you get involved into politics and you really see what's going on, the Republicans say that they're for limited government. They say that they're for the people. But then you see how much they want to spend. You see how many different policies they pass, not shrinking the government, not giving you more personal freedoms, but taking personal freedoms away from you, at the same time creating a larger government. And then I looked at the Libertarian Party. And it was basically because of Ron Paul. I was a huge Ron Paul supporter. And he kind of backdoored me into the Libertarian Party because I heard that he was, real big. And just the things he said really resonate within me. And then I looked at the party and I was like, oh, okay. So here's a party that really believes in limited government, that really believes in the rights of the people, that really believes that you have the right to your life, to live it the way you want to live it, as long as you're not harming anybody else.
And I'm going to have to stop you there, Mr. Shields. Thank you.
And that was fine with me.
Okay. And then I'd like to ask Mr. Cunningham about a point you made in his opening statement. You talked about, you mentioned the word Ukraine, and you talked about how, I'm paraphrasing what you said, so forgive me, but you said something to the effect of that how liberties around the world seem to be taken by even Americans more seriously than our liberties here at home. Is that a fair assessment of what you kind of were getting at?
Basically.
Okay, and so I just kind of want to touch on that a little bit with regard to foreign policy generally. In Congress, you'll have an opportunity, obviously, to help to shape foreign policy at the federal level. And so, what is your position on the role of America in the world generally, with taking care of, or being concerned with the civil liberties of folks in other countries? And I'll just leave it at that. What's your answer there?
Well, that's an easy question for me with a master's in international relations. We do have interests, and that goes without saying. And we can exercise those interests around the world. We can exercise those interests for our allies when it becomes necessary. But we are not the world's police. We cannot take on that role. Yes, we are a superpower, and sometimes the role falls to us, by default. But it shouldn't fall that way all the time. Our treasure should be sent to defend our rights and liberties, or liberties that are being trampled on in such a way that it will affect our interests. And that's what I mean.
Okay, and Mr. Loewe, I've heard you speak before, and you've touched on the same point several times as you did in your opening statement, which is focusing on Lamar Smith and his addiction to debt, which it's hard probably for anybody in this room to disagree with that statement, but I'm curious to know, you focus on Mr. Smith, and you've also said in your opening statement that you would vote against any proposition that would increase the national debt. So could you tell me how would you go about doing that when we're in a situation in this country today where we borrow 40-some cents on every dollar that we spend? We have an exploding debt. Some people call it a debt crisis. Obviously, the debt ceiling gets raised willy-nilly. Tell me, how do you go about reining that in and accomplishing your goal of preventing the increase of our debt?
I believe that even congressmen who repeatedly vote for deficit budgets can be convinced about the foolishness of incurring federal debt on which interest money is simply given away. It's bad enough to incur repeated repeated deficits, but it compounds the problem when you allow interest to accumulate, because then at some point in the future, Congress needs to issue even more money to retire the debt. So if you're going to run deficits, it's better to issue money right then and there without interest accumulating than it is to incur debt and allow interest to also accumulate. So as strange as it may seem, it is less inflationary in the long term to not incur debt when you run deficits, but to issue money right up front. That results in less money being issued in the long run and is less inflationary than the alternative. So it's really a pretty simple thing. And I claim that all members of Congress, no matter whether they're for surplus or balanced or deficit budgets, should never vote to incur debt, no matter where they stand on what kind of budget there should be.
And I'm going to have to stop you there. So, thank you. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and ask the audience to start thinking of any questions that they might have. I'm going to give one more question to each, and it's the same question to each of our candidates, and then I'm going to go ahead and ask for a question for either a specific candidate or a question that you want to ask the entire panel. But in the interest of making sure that everyone gets equal time, I may have to moderate that. So my question to each of the candidates now is, with regard to, we've talked a lot about some general topics and some general issues, especially as it regards, how you folks align with the Libertarian Party and the Libertarian platform. But now I want to ask a different type of question. With regard to your congressional district that you want to represent, Congressional District 21, we described the geography earlier. What is the single most important issue today facing the voters of Congressional District 21 whom you want to represent? And I'll go ahead and start. Let's just go back to Mr. Loewe again, and we'll go in a different order for about a 1-minute response to that question, please.
Well, there are several things that are of very high importance to members of really any congressional district. One is to make sure that the federal government doesn't waste money, enormous amounts of money, which it's currently doing. Another is national defense. And the third is improved education. Now, that's not really much of a federal matter. Congress does, our Constitution does grant Congress the power to promote the progress of science and useful arts. And while I do not believe Congress should spend a lot of money on educating people, I do believe it's appropriate for Congress to have clearinghouses of information and good practices that states and localities can make use of in providing better education. Thank you.
Very punctual. Right on the dot. Okay, and now I'm going to go to Mr. Cunningham to answer the same question. What's the most important issue facing the voters of CD21?
Well, I think civil liberties. I'm not against executive orders of any kind. Executive orders integrated the military at one time. Executive orders saved our monuments, our national monument. It's just the overreaching that I have issue with, and that seemed to be a predominant thing there in Washington. Just to restrict the amount of overreaching that is happening in Washington to states here in Texas. That, I think, is the most predominant issue for this campaign.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cunningham. And same question to you, Mr. Shields. What's the most important issue facing the voters of CD21?
I believe the most important issue with Congressional District 21 is probably the Affordable Care Act. Our district contains so many small business owners, and they've seen that as soon as this law actually does come into effect, they're going to have to cut workers. They might have to close their doors. They're going to lose money. They're going to have to switch jobs. Their lives are going to be turned upside down by this law. And they've seen it. They've seen it, and they know it's coming. And we're actually running against a candidate who said that he doesn't support the Affordable Care Act. Yet he voted to fund it. And the voters of CD21 need to know that we stand with them in their rights to their own health care, to do with their lives as they choose, and not be told by the federal government what they have to do, when they have to do it, or they pay a fine if they don't.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Okay, now it's your turn. So I'd like to solicit a question from the audience, either for one of our panelists or a question you could direct at all three. First hand I saw was from Mr. Glass there. Is this for a single person or all?
All three.
Okay.
The Fourth Amendment to the Constitution says that we have the right to be secret our persons, papers, and effects. Somehow in this war on terror, they've decided that there's an exception to that. It wasn't written in there that I saw, which said that they can just spy on you if they want to because of national security. Do you believe that there is a national security exception to the Fourth Amendment, even though it's not written there?
Okay, so I'm going to repeat the question, make sure everybody heard that, and also make sure I get it right. So, as I understand it, the question is, in the way that you either interpret the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution or the way you interpret the concept of national security, do you feel that there is any compelling reason why national security would trump the Fourth Amendment? Is that good enough?
Right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll just go down the line this time, and we'll start with Mr. Cunningham.
I agree that there has been too much strain on the Fourth Amendment. Yeah, we need to keep our country secure. The Patriot Act has stretched that to the wins. And I think that's what you're particularly looking at. NSA is in our homes, our computers, our phones. There has to be a happy medium. There has to be some balance to this. Where we find that is through congressional oversight, and we don't have that in Washington.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cunningham. And so the same question to Mr. Shields. Based on your understanding of the Fourth Amendment or the concept of national security, is there ever a compelling reason for national security to trump the Fourth Amendment?
Not in this case. I know the Patriot Act was passed. I have to believe it was passed for the right reasons. That we really needed to get in and discover who these terrorists were. And the country was, our hearts were bleeding. I mean, we weren't expecting it. Was it an overstep of the Fourth Amendment? Absolutely. Is it still an overstep? 100%. These FISA courts that are offering warrants to go into your personal belongings, search your houses, they're done in private. We don't know who they are. We don't have any records. Those records are not for the public to see. The NSA spying program, another issue that our competitor had a chance to vote against, and apparently he felt that the NSA spying program was necessary, so he voted to keep it. But as we move forward out, we need to step back and realize what we gave up. And as voters, when we go to those voting booths, know what you're voting for. Do you want those freedoms back? Are you tired of the federal government reaching in and grabbing your personal emails, recording your personal phone calls, reading your personal text messages? Is that what you want?
And I'm going to have to stop you there, Mr. Shields.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, and the same question to you, Mr. Loewe. Fourth Amendment versus national security, who wins?
Well, there are certainly occasions when national security would trump things like that, would trump the Fourth Amendment, and Lincoln used instances of that during the Civil War. But with respect to protection of privacy in one's own home and protection of privacy of correspondence between citizens of the United States within the United States, I think that warrants should be required in order for the federal government to look into those things. With a federal government that has so much power as ours does, there may be a significant risk of allowing that power to grow further to the citizens of the United States. And now, people who are in favor of giving the government unrestricted access to correspondence and so on, they may argue that not doing so, restricting the government, may result in some additional instances of terrorist acts.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to stop you there, Mr. Loewe. Thank you. So at this point, I'm going to exercise some moderatorial discretion, if you will. And I want to give Mr. Cunningham an opportunity for a follow-up to this answer because you're running a little bit behind the other folks on time. And I also think it's a very interesting question and an interesting differentiation that we've heard here between the candidates. So I just want to, Mr. Cunningham, I just want to give you an opportunity for a follow-up for about a minute based on anything that you've heard your opponent say.
No, I think we're on the same page. Libertarians have the same philosophy, the same idea. how we approach that may be different because we're different individuals. I have a strong national defense frame as well as the civil liberties concern. Those are points that I hold dear. The budgetary issues, I tend to lean back and forth on that, depending on the situation or what's going on in the nation at the time. But I think any one of us who will be challenging whoever comes out of this primary would do this 21st district a world of good.
Thank you. A very gracious answer. Okay. Let's go back to the audience. I saw a hand. Did you have a question? And is this for the entire panel?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
I believe immigration is a hot topic nowadays, and I've not heard anything about that right now. So I would like to ask, there is millions upon millions of undocumented immigrants living in this country in the shadows, that came to this great country looking for better ways of improving their lives. What are we going to do with this tens of millions of people living here in the shadows?
I like to attack that first. I don't think there is a single one solution answer to that, all or nothing. By that I mean, I don't think a path to citizenship should be the only answer. I think we should get those people out of the shadows, put them in a legal status. Legal people pay taxes. Legal people get driver's license. Legal people are out of the shadows, and we don't have to worry about where this person is or how I contact this person. This person is visible. So I think we should first look at putting these people in the legal status. And yes, they go back to the back of the line for citizenship if someone has come before them and applied for citizenship. But let's get them out of the shadow, put them in a legal status, especially the children who are brought here by their parents through no fault of their own. Let's take these people out of the shadows, give them a legal status, and then put them on a path to citizenship.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Cunningham. And let's go to Mr. Loewe. Oh, I'll repeat the question real quick too. So the question is essentially, how do we, with regard to your immigration policy or the immigration platform that you would promote when you're in Congress, how will you recommend to deal with undocumented residents, let's say, that are already here in the country?
That's a very big subject, and 1 minute is not adequate. Regarding border security, I am in favor of strengthening border security so that we reduce the potential for spies and saboteurs and carriers of communicable disease and possible wards of the state from entering. Regarding, right now, if there are 12 million illegal aliens in the country, at a rate of deportation of, say, 400,000 per year, that would take 30 years. And so even if you plan to deport all of the 12 million illegal aliens, you would have to prioritize which ones are of greater value to people in the United States to allow them to remain here for a long time. Aliens who live with citizen family members and who pay taxes and contribute to civil society, they should have higher weights. Those with criminal records and so on should have lower weights.
And I think I should stop you there, so thank you. Okay, same question to you, Mr. Shields. What to do with the undocumented folks that are here now?
Well, one thing that I've noticed that Congress likes to do is to pass legislation and regulate, and they never really stop to ask themselves that one question: why are they here? Why don't we help change the situation that forces them to leave their home country? Now, I'm sure as a young child, I would not want to have been ripped from my home in the middle of the night and my dad take me on a 2,000-mile journey. It's not something that you do willingly. It's something that you do out of necessity, out of desperation. Now, I'm in the Eagle Ford industry. I work out in the oil fields. Northern Mexico is a huge oil depository under the ground. Now, the diplomats in the United States should go down, speak with the Mexican government and their oil industry, allow countries to give them and help them with the technology, because they closed that off for years. But that would create hundreds of thousands of jobs for Mexican citizens. It would help their economy. It would also help North America be energy independent from Middle Eastern countries. Now, we've spent trillions of dollars in the Middle East in wars that I don't know if anybody here can explain. We defeated Iraq and Afghanistan and killed bin Laden in Pakistan. I mean, it was...
Final thought, Mr. Schultz.
But we need to change the situation. We don't need to worry about our immigration system. We need to wonder why our immigration system is the way it is.
Okay, thank you. Let's do one more round. Is there someone else that has a question? Mr. Martinez in the back there?
I'll defer to
It was the first. Okay, sure. Yes, sir.
For Mr. Cunningham, recently there have been announced pending cuts to the, to their, I don't want to say benefits, subsidized housing, commissary, TRICARE, all that. Do you think in looking at that in a whole picture over 20 years, we're going to have a standing army?
Well, I tell you, I'm a retired veteran, and I look at that every week, every month. I'm delighted to say that the desire to close the commissary has fallen by the wayside. The 1% cost of living adjustment has fallen by the wayside. I have been watching this with bated breath to see why someone would parade a veteran at the State of the Union and cut his benefits at the same time. But I am delighted to say that they seem to be getting the message, and I'm going to keep my eyes on it. I can assure you, I have a personal interest.
We all do, sir.
Okay, thank you. And that actually worked out well to even things up. So I think at this point, what I'd like to do, well, first of all, I want to give one more opportunity because there was another question. Mr. Martinez?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Gentlemen, this is for all three of you. With the Democrats basically conceding the race, and Lamar Smith I was just looking at the news, looking like he's going to come out of this one. This gives you guys a huge platform. You'll potentially have opportunities, if the man has courage, to debate Mr. Smith. Why should we trust you with the libertarian message?
Wow, I don't know if I need to repeat that enough said. Why are you the one that should carry the libertarian message, especially against Lamar Smith? And let's just go ahead and start. We'll just go backwards down the line, starting with Mr. Loewe.
Thank you, Tim. Well, I've been the Libertarian nominee for State Board of Education District 5 in 2 general elections. And in both cases, I received over 20,000 votes and over 28,000 votes in races that were contested by both a Republican and a Democrat. No other, in 2010 and 2012, no other Libertarian candidate in the state of Texas, in the roughly a little over 100 races, received both more votes and a higher percentage of the votes than I did. So I'm a good candidate as a Libertarian. As you've heard before, I plan to hit Lamar Smith hard on the fact that he has voted multiple times to increase the debt limit. He is addicted to federal debt. He can't run away from that. And that does immense harm to ordinary Americans by causing additional inflation that is unnecessary. So you can judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mark, perfect. All right, and Mr. Shields, 1 minute please to answer the question of why are you the right person to take the libertarian message against Lamar Smith?
Well, my entire message is freedom. My whole platform is personal freedom. I've studied Lamar Smith intently. I know his background. I know what he's voting for. I know who owns him. He received $43,000 from big oil companies last year. Not his entire candidacy, last year. And my message of freedom for the people is what I plan on taking to Lamar Smith if he does decide to debate, which I would love to see it. I doubt it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it because he doesn't have a leg to stand on. It wouldn't be in his best interest if I was his campaign manager. I would tell him, no, don't. Go to Cape Cod. Go to your summer house. Don't worry about it. But that's my message. My message is freedom. I know he voted against stopping the NSA. I know he wrote SOPA, the government takeover of the internet. I know he voted against giving veterans their cost of living allowance. But he also voted for his cost of living allowance being raised. So he has a lot of questions to answer. And if I do get the chance, I would love to debate Lamar Smith. It would be the highlight of my life.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shields. And Mr. Cunningham, why are you the right person to take the message?
Well, I will try to keep it to 1 minute. I fought for liberty. I understand the pain, the agony, and I've seen individuals fall by the wayside fighting for liberty. We just need to ensure that those individuals of the state of Texas understand that insanity is doing the same thing and electing the same people to office, Democrats and Republicans, and expecting a different result. If someone can hone that message and have them understand that, they will sway toward the Libertarian Party.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Okay, I think we're just about out of time for the question and answer period. So at this point, I'd like to just go ahead and give each debater once again an opportunity to have a final closing statement. It's going to be about 2 minutes.
Kurt, may we ask questions of each other as was part of the format?
Yes, you're quite right. I did skip that part. We are running a little long on time. May we take one more round of questions? I'm getting general head nodding. So, okay, yes, that's perfectly fine. So we'll go ahead and just starting with Mr. Cunningham. If you have a question that you would like to ask one of your opponents, then you may do so, and then well, actually, no, it's only fair if we do it for both. If you can ask a question that both of your opponents will have to answer, please, and then they'll each take a minute.
I have none at this time, thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Shields, do you have a question you'd like to ask your opponents?
With the rising tensions in the Ukraine, what do you believe the United States' role is in solving that crisis, if any?
And Mr. Cunningham, would you take a minute to answer, please?
What's happening in the Ukraine is interesting. We got, first, a government in turmoil. Citizenry that doesn't really trust the government. The government leaders have spent so much that they're parading their extravagance on television, as we watch the news. We got part of the Ukraine is leaning toward Europe. The other part is leaning toward Russia. Most of the individuals speak Russian. Therefore, you got a crumbling Russian leader who's trying to maintain power and prominence and dominance in the world, who's trying to muddy the waters. What should really happen if they really want to solve this problem? The United States should have a summit with the Russian delegates, because the things are very complex in Ukraine. You got a Russian-built, owned pipeline that runs through the Ukraine, gas. Built by Russia, owned by Russia. It is Russian. So, understand that. Russia gave them $15 million to cover their debt. So they have a vested interest in getting that $15 billion back from Ukraine. We got a complex set of variables in that part of the world. And Europe is saying, hey, you're free. You know, we want you to come over to our side. The European, Union saying, hey, we want to bring you over here.
Final thought.
So it is very complex. The only way to do this is to sit down, hammer out who gets what, where the autonomy lies, and make it happen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cunningham. And Mr. Loewe, would you like to answer the question du jour, what to do about Ukraine?
The problems in Ukraine are very complex. I haven't had time to study them, and probably information that a normal American would have is limited compared to what's available to our government. So I would prefer not to say that the United States should act in any particular way at the present time. There are a wide range of possibilities, and perhaps when one of us is elected to Congress, we will have access to a lot more information and be able to make a better judgment. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Loewe, it will be your opportunity to ask a question of both of your opponents.
Gentlemen, if you do a Google search on the three words Congress, federal, and debt in any order, the top return is to my December 2011 article on how Congress can easily avoid and eliminate federal debt on which interest accumulates. If you've had a chance to read the article, is there anything about what I propose that you disagree with?
Okay. And what again, I'm sorry, Mr. Loewe, what again is the title of your article?
Congress can easily avoid and eliminate federal debt on which interest accumulates.
Okay. So the question is, have you read and do you disagree with Mr. Loewe's article regarding how interest accumulates on the federal debt? Mr. Shields, please.
I have not read his article.
Okay. And Mr. Cunningham.
I have not read that article, but I will certainly take a look at it as soon as I get out of here, because I think that's interesting. I know when I pay down the interest on my mortgage, I have a lower payment each month, so I think that article has some merit.
How about this? Would either one of you, Mr. Shields or Mr. Cunningham, care to comment on the general principle of the fact that interest accumulates on the federal debt?
Well, my platform is based on a balanced budget. So, of course, when our president stands up and tells us if we raise our debt ceiling, it doesn't raise our debt, I mean, that's it's ridiculous. I mean, I have a brain. I'm not a physician, I'm not a mathematician, but I do know if my wife and I take out another credit card and we max it out, we've raised our debt. We've added to our debt. And I've looked at several different plans. My balanced budget plan, which is not going to be easy to pass. but there's also plans out there called the penny plan. If y'all have heard of that or researched that, which basically says every year you cut 1 penny out of every dollar that we spend. And you just keep doing that every year. There are ways of cutting our debt. And it's going to be paramount because we're reaching the tipping point.
Thank you, Mr. Shields. Perfect. And Mr. Cunningham, any comments on the debt, the interest, debt reduction generally?
I think it has merit.
Okay, short and sweet. Unless, were you finished?
I haven't read the article, but I think it has merit.
Fair enough. All right, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and just move to the closing statements. Thank you. First and foremost, I just want to thank our debaters. I think it was a great and very interesting interchange that we had there. So we'll just go ahead and finish in the order that we started. I'll go to Mr. Cunningham again for a closing statement, 2 minutes.
Thank you. I think anyone who runs for office is courageous. Any 3 of us who gets to get into Congress, I would applaud. I don't have any ego to bruise. I just want to do my part. I've been sitting on the sidelines for over 20 years. So I thought it was time that I step up. If these gentlemen are so fortunate to be the candidate of choice, I would applaud them with all, my might. We just need to make sure that the Libertarian Party views and platform is out there. And they need to stop looking at us as pot-smoking radicals. We are not that. We want to cut the debt. We think there's too much spending. We want to make sure our civil liberties are protected. We have some views that are at the heart of every American in this country. We just need to get them out there. Whether I get them out or any of these gentlemen, I will be satisfied. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, Mr. Shields, your closing comments, please.
Last year, I sat in my living room and watched our government shut off a World War II monument to World War II veterans. That was the point where I looked at my wife and said, I've got to do something. I was raised by a World War II vet. My grandpa gave six years of his life, a third of his body to this country. And I couldn't stand by while a government who fought over spending more money than what we have would punish its own citizens because they couldn't agree. I couldn't let that stand. That's not for the people, by the people. That's me against you. That's a playground argument. That's not diplomacy. So I vowed to go to Washington, take the people's message to Washington, and get rid of the nonsense. Add some good old Texas common sense. And see if I can't open up some eyes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Shields. And Mr. Loewe, your final thoughts. 2 minutes, please.
I have proposed common sense ways to improve K-12 education, and for more than 20 years have made efforts to get those proposals enacted by our legislature. I have good to excellent knowledge of many areas of physics, chemistry, math, and engineering that should help me to come up to speed on matters, scientific and technological matters that arise in Congress. My attention to detail should help in oversight matters and in the writing and reviewing of bills. I believe that even members of Congress who repeatedly vote for deficit budgets can be convinced of the foolishness of incurring federal debt on which interest money is given away. Lamar Smith is addicted to federal debt, which is immensely harmful. Please visit markloewe.org. I humbly ask for your vote and would be grateful for any help that you can provide to inform others about my candidacy. Thank you very much.
Very good, very good. And I just want to ask, for one more big, huge round of applause for all three of us. This really, for me especially, has been very informative, and I'm quite confident that no matter what happens at this district nominating convention later on this month, that whoever the Republican nominee is going to have a run for their money. So very, very great job, and thank you very much. So at this point, I guess we want to move on to the next session. We have another contested district in a three-way race. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get all three candidates here tonight, but we do have two, and so this is Congressional District 15. Very different geography. Since they're sitting up here, I'll go ahead and introduce our candidates first before I talk about this particular district that they're contesting for. So we have first of all on the far left, Mr. Ross L. Loewe from Guadalupe County, and right. And we have Mr. Johnny Partain from the opposite end of the district in Hidalgo. So this is an interesting one. Congressional District 15 stretches from Guadalupe County in the north to Hidalgo in the south, as I sort of alluded to. It's a long, narrow district that goes almost all the way down into the tip of the state of Texas and comes all the way up, almost all the way to Austin in the north. It encompasses parts of Guadalupe, Wilson, Karnes, Live Oak, Duval, Brooks, Jim Hogg, and Hidalgo counties. The current incumbent is a Democrat by the name of Ruben Hinojosa, and there currently are five folks that have filed. Ruben Hinojosa is the only Democrat. No one is challenging him in his primary. There are two Republicans that have filed by the name of Eddie Zamora and Doug Carlisle. I haven't really analyzed this well enough to tell you who's the favorite. They both seem relatively on par in terms of their campaign financing. And then in our camp, we have three candidates that filed, although only two of them are listed on Ballotpedia. That is to say, Rosalind Leone and John Partain, who are both here tonight. And then another gentleman from Guadalupe County by the name of Louis Alexander, who was invited but was not able to attend.
I'm not able to participate. This New Brownsville cedar pollen is going to drive me out of the county in about like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's killing me too.
Mr. Louis Alexander?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
We are. Mr. Louis Alexander. All right. So that's the lay of the land, and that's what we have going on. So Mr. Hinojosa is obviously heavily favored in this district. He's been elected several times. I haven't looked up exactly how many terms he's currently served in district.
Since '98.
Since '98. Wow. Okay. So he's been around for a while. So With that, I suppose, clearly the candidates are eager to jump into the fray. So with that, I will go ahead and give them their opportunity for opening statements. And again, we'll just go left to right as we did to begin the last time. So Mr. Leone, would you please give us a 2-minute opening statement?
Thank you. I am Rosslyn Leone. I'm the only true Libertarian candidate in the District 15 race. First of all, I wish to thank the Central Texas Liberty Alliance and Kurt Hildebrand for holding this debate and making this possible. There's 3 candidates for the Libertarian nomination. One, Alexander, ran as a Republican for a Republican Party post in the last election. Had he won, he would be at the polls today urging you to vote Republican. So Alexander was last seen as a rhino, a Republican in name only. My opponent, Partain of McAllen, ran as a Democrat in 2010 and as an independent in 2012. I think that makes him a rhino, Libertarian in name only. For me, being a Libertarian means wanting to see a smaller and less intrusive federal government, lower taxes, freedom from government mandates and unnecessary regulations, respect for our Bill of Rights, and a return to constitutional government. It is a great sin for my generation to condone generational theft by passing on a $17 trillion debt to my children's generation. All 3 area longtime incumbents, including Hinojosa, must share the blame for this travesty as they voted repeatedly for more spending and higher debt. You have the opportunity, yea, I would say the responsibility, to say no, I have had enough. No more debt, no more spying, no more Benghazi, no more IRS attacks, no more outmoded politics by the 2-party monopoly. Send a clear message to Tweedledee and Tweedledum. It has to stop. It is also about time Guadalupe County had some real representation, instead of being just a neglected outpost to the border politicians. Vote for Leone, vote Libertarian. Let's make it happen, let's make change.
Thank you, Mr. Leone. Mr. Partain, your opening statement is 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm Johnny Partain, a congressional candidate for CD 15. I'm basically here to throw out our incumbent bankrupt Congressman Ruben Hinojosa. And I don't know if you all know, but he has been part of the complicity and the corruption, which has actually violated some of our civil rights. We can get that a little bit later. But the other thing is we just can't afford him anymore. He's too expensive for us. Now, I run a strong anti-corruption platform, and it's aimed at protecting our civil rights, especially property rights. I've done this for several years, and in fact, I have picked up arms against illegal local government oppression. I mean, imagine it takes a little bit of time to do something like that. And as I said, you're probably going to have a little difficulty finding a politician with a spine like that. It might sound like a misnomer. But let me assure you, I have a lot of support from the people that understand what the rule of law means, and that is that the rule of law protects the mighty and the small. This is the only path for liberty and freedom. You can't have chaos and liberty. Come November of this year, you will be voting for your representatives, and you should remember that the politicians really do represent their constituents. So hopefully, you all live for the risks of liberty and freedom. I don't know, if in your districts you have a representative that does that right now, but I am one of the representatives that can do that. Look me up, Google me at Johnny Partain. I take up at least the first 8 pages on Google search, and you can tell what I've been doing. I'm really active, and I bet I will represent everyone with fairness, accountability, and respect. Thank you.
Very good. I just want to caution our debaters, I'm not, we did definitely set some ground rules before we started this debate, that there would be no name calling of any kind or ad hominem attacks, that sort of thing. And I don't know if Councilman Alino really crosses that line or not. I don't know, it's kind of on the border, but I just wanted to, so far I think we're doing well. I just wanted to make sure that everyone's cautioned to that rule.
No
So-
offense, you did call me once, so.
Oh, that's right. But I'm not a part of this debate. All right. Anyway, very good. So I'm going to ask you some pretty standard questions to begin with. And, the first question that I'd like to ask you folks is regarding the Libertarian Party platform. So, Mr. Partain, it's, in one of those 8 pages of Google search results, folks can surely find out that you have run for Congress in this district before. Mr. Leone's also run for Congress in a different district, for U.S. Congress in a different district before. So my first question for you is, with regard to the state Libertarian Party platform and the national Libertarian Party platform, first and foremost, is there one that you feel is more important than the other, that you're taking into account when you're campaigning or when you're serving in office? And secondly, is there anything with those platforms that you don't necessarily agree with, or do you agree with the platforms fully? So we'll go in reverse order now, starting with Mr. Partain.
All right, well, this is going to take more than a minute to cover, but when I made the application for Libertarian, there actually were 6 exceptions that I put down there. One of them, I thought this was pretty important, was that the Libertarian platform did not want the government to define what family was. And as far as I'm concerned, that is an intrinsic right of a person to have a family, and if the government can't recognize what that family is, how is the government going to know not to tread where it shouldn't tread? The other thing that I think that I didn't agree with necessarily for libertarians was, I guess, on drug use. Drug use does impair judgment, and there are reasons why we have drug laws. Now, as far as I am aware, most libertarians are conservative, and I know that one of the other representatives or candidates was talking about how the Libertarian Party has a reputation for smoking marijuana and such. But while I'm all right with people doing their own thing as long as it's not hurting other people, there is a limitation on what I expect other people's behavior to be. I have worked with people that do abuse drugs, and as I said, libertarians are mostly conservative, and I expect that they would respect the laws that have come before, the experiences that have happened before. We just don't throw it all at chaos. Finally, I think there was something about immigration. I don't know if we're going to talk about that later on.
Sounds like it could be a topic for a different question, perhaps.
We should do that.
All right.
Okay, I rest.
So, Mr. Leone, with regard to the state and the national platform, is there anything you don't agree with, or are you pretty much on board with what those documents say? And which one do you think is more important for a member of the U.S. Congress? Is it more important to be aligned with the state platform or the national?
I'm running to represent Texas and the citizens of Guadalupe and the other counties in District 15. Therefore, if there was, for some reason, some kind of conflict, I would have to lend my support to the Texas platform. I don't know that I think there is any great differences. I know in looking over the platforms, I felt very comfortable with most of the items on there, probably 90%. I would agree with Johnny about the family. The platforms are very much in line with many of my own personal feelings, and I think we need to realize that platforms are made by people and they're executed by people. Republicans, if you look at the Republican platform, it's not all that bad. It's just they don't follow it.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Leone. And Mr. Leone, have you signed the candidate agreement that, basically the agreement to follow the Libertarian Party platform during your campaign?
As libertarians, we're all about freedom, limited government. We're offering an alternative to the standard two-party monopoly. I don't want to trade one monopoly for another. I don't have any major problem with the agreement in the general sense. I don't think there's anything in it that precludes me from exercising my own free speech and my own conscience about certain issues. Aside from, if it indeed does do that, then I would not have a problem signing it.
Okay, fair enough. And what about you, Mr. Partain? Have you signed it, or would you sign it?
Yes, I think I have signed it. It was part of the paperwork that I sent in for my application. I didn't have a problem signing it because, as I said, part of the application is you list your exceptions. I'm freedom loving, and I don't want to represent any impairment on that freedom. So I don't think it's really an issue.
All right, short and sweet. Well, in your opening remarks, I think it's pretty clear that you both want to throw out Ruben Hinojosa. I'm not sure if you have exactly the same reasons for it, but I definitely think there's an interesting difference going on here. You both clearly have that interest. So I'd like to focus more on the differences and ask, for you, what is the number one reason that you would give that you think that Ruben Hinojosa specifically needs to be thrown out? And does it have anything to do with the interest that you have based on where you live particularly? And we'll go ahead and go to Mr. Partain first.
Wow. Okay. Now that is a deep and complex question. Generally speaking, Mr. Hinojosa is a Democrat, and he has voted for all of the Patriot Act, the ACA, TARP. I mean, everything that we're complaining about that's hurting us, he voted for. He supported that. He does have a lot of interest right now in our medical school that we just voted ourselves in South Texas. And while medical school is fine, we don't have the infrastructure or the support to keep it running. So now our taxes are going up on our property also. The United States is a capitalist economy. I mean, you build up the grassroots first, and then everything follows. And Mr. Hinojosa has the idea that things go in reverse, and that can't work. Now, on a personal note, I have been in contact with Mr. Hinojosa and his attorneys, and I brought to them documents showing federal crimes occurring in federal buildings. When I first talked to him, this was 3 or 4 years ago, his attorney said, yeah, this is illegal. They can't do this kind of stuff. And he came back to me later on and said, Mr. Hinojosa is going to take care of this. Well, Mr. Hinojosa didn't take care of it because Mr. Hinojosa went bankrupt after 8 months later, and then says, you know what, Mr. Partain, I'm not going to spend the political capital to take care of these crimes, to take care of your interests, protect your family. We don't need a representative like that. So that's why I said I'm here to throw him out of office and take his position. He can't take care of his constituents. Thank you.
All right. That's pretty clear. What about you, Mr. Leone?
I'm going to use one of those descriptive terms that I don't mean to offend, but I think it tells the tale. Hinojosa is one of Pelosi's lapdogs, and he will never kick the debt addiction any more than Lamar Smith will. He has had many years in office, and the only accomplishments are a few bones that he's thrown out in the yard just to ingratiate himself with a very narrow clientele. He gets his funds from unions, other special interest groups. It's time he had more time to fish or whatever.
All right. Sorry for the delay. I'm just going to ask, I'm going to ask two more quick ones, and then I'm going to go to the audience. And hopefully these will be quick, but you know, it's interesting in looking at Ruben Hinojosa's campaign finance filings here. He doesn't actually have a lot of cash on hand, only $172,000, which, when you compare it to most, you know, sitting members of the U.S. Congress, especially those that have been in for, you know, since 1998, you would expect to have more, which, you know, kind of leads me to conclude it's possible, you know, it's really possible that if there's a weak Republican nominee in a heavily Democratic district, that this could actually be a district that's ripe for a Libertarian upset. So my question for you is, how specifically would you, I mean, it seems clear, based on your remarks so far, that neither one of you is particularly interested in running a campaign just to fill a slot of ballot. You guys both really want to win the seat. So what's your plan for going about doing that? And how do you take down somebody with $172,000 in the bank and probably the ability to raise more? Oh, and I'm sorry, I'll go to Mr. Leone first.
Well, 172,000 is peanuts compared to Lloyd Doggett's over $1 million. But nevertheless, I don't have 172,000. I think that it's going to take word of mouth, social interaction, media, going to events like this, and a whole lot of support from fellow libertarians. These people will always find the money. If he had a candidate that was going to spend $200,000, his unions, the teachers, the large donors that he has there, they would just ante up more money. So I don't think libertarians are ever going to get into office trying to outspend, because first of all, we can't do it. We can't beat Lloyd Doggett's $1 million. We have to do it by appealing to the people, by presenting our case, and by recognizing that I think there's many people in this district that have simply had enough. They're looking for an alternative. We need to give them one.
Okay. And Mr. Partain, what's your plan?
Mr. Hinojosa has more than 172,000. He has a lot of backing. And in fact, I've talked to some of the organizations regarding donations to my campaign, and what I've come to find out is that it's a general practice to back the incumbent, even though I can find support in these organizations. So I do happen to know who Eddie Zamora is. I used to be a senior salesman over him, and it's not going to be hard to beat Mr. Zamora. He's a felon. I don't know why anybody would ever want to vote for him or why he would even be nominated for the Republican position twice. Mr. Hinojosa, he's an oak tree, and he's part of an established machine. And the only way that you can do this is you have to remember that I live in a very heavily Hispanic population. And Hispanics are not, they're not liberals. They're very conservative. And they know what's going on. A lot of my friends have told me if there was just somebody else to vote for, they won't vote Republican, but they will vote Libertarian. So I think I can draw both votes from the Democratic side and from the Republican side, and appease both sensibilities that we're not crossing any lines. Now, as far as garnering money, the money actually is the key to everything. I've run a campaign before. The votes seem to correspond directly with the money spent. So I do know that I have to generate it. And that's the next step. I mean, I've already got letters out. I'm already going after the lobbyists, the people I'm going to be talking to in Washington anyway. So they might as well start talking to me now, and that's what we're doing.
All right, thank you. Okay, at this point, I'm going to see if there's any questions from the audience to our candidates for CD15. Yes, Mr. White.
It's for both the candidates. As you mentioned earlier, District 15 is divided socially and politically. Seguin, for instance, felt like it's been neglected for years. Okay, from the south end, if I was the person from the north coming to you, what would you do for the northern half of District 15 to serve our interests? And for Mr. Loewe, if I was a person coming from the south, how would you serve my interests as somebody from the southern part of District 15? Thank you.
Okay, interesting question. Kind of similar to what I asked before, but I think I like the way that was actually framed up in particular. So Mr. Loewe and Mr. Partain come from opposite ends, the north and the south sides of the district specifically, or particularly. So the question would be, understanding the needs and the requirements are sort of wildly different between Central Texas and southern, south, border of Texas. How would you make sure that you're representing your corresponding constituencies appropriately? And I believe we just had Mr. Partain, so let's go to Mr. Loewe for the answer first.
My son is a fifth-generation Texan. My ancestors were Germans settled in Fayette County. I'm a native of Houston. I think being a good congressperson will better serve both ends of the county because they don't have that right now. All they have is a person who votes very much in line with what the party regulars demand. So in reality, I don't even think the South End is getting good representation. A good congressperson would benefit both ends. I do think there needs to be more visitations, more working with local people on the north end, but that doesn't preclude working with the south end either.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Loewe. You guys are doing a great job of keeping your time with us, by the way. I just want to thank you both for that. And Mr. Partain, so the north-south divide, how do you bridge the gap?
Well, I imagine this is a question about bringing home the money, and that's kind of a difficult thing to say when we're in a position that we really don't want the government in our business. So, I think really the biggest thing about my platform is that I am trying to reform the judiciary because we've got a lot of problems with our government. It's overreaching what it was meant to do. So the only way that we can attack it or to protect ourselves is we have to make sure that we have a rule of law, that it's observed, that we're protected. And I think really the only way to accomplish this is we have to clean up at least one branch of government. If we can clean up the courts, for example, I think the rest falls, which is what I'm trying to do. Now, I think just taking down Mr. Hinojosa, that right there is a big dent in the machine that we got down south. Mr. Hinojosa doesn't really represent Seguin, has no interest in Seguin, so I have an interest. So anyone replacing Mr. Hinojosa would be an improvement, I think. But the other thing that I said that I represent, that I fight for, is, as I said, liberty, capitalism. Now, capitalism is a strong engine. It brings people a lot of gifts, but it does have to be regulated. And I think as far as the regulation goes, that's what the government needs to concentrate on instead of trying to tell us how to live and how to think. That brings me to another issue. I wish I could cover it right now. I don't have the time, but it's regarding the Supreme Court and their idea that the government has the authority through taxation to change our opinions or to change the way that we think.
Okay.
I'd like to go there later on.
Thank you, Mr. Partain. We want to see if we can meet that. Okay, another question from the audience, anyone? Yes, sir. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
I would like to have a little bit of understanding. I am a new libertarian, formally new libertarian. I have been like this all my life. You mentioned that the government has to define what family is. That's what I understood. Maybe I misunderstood. I understand that libertarians have the options of following whatever social interactions they want, as long as they don't damage other people. Can you explain why, and that includes, living in different structures of family, not only man and wife. So I would like to understand exactly what you meant, both of you, with the fact that you agree that the government has to define the concept of family.
Okay, if you agree that the government has to define the concept of family, how is that compatible with libertarianism? Did I frame that up correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Leone, please.
Don't know if I really agree that the government should define what family is. Family, and I take it we're probably talking about marriage and some of the recent happenings in that area, I believe is a state issue. And as such, I don't want to see the federal government get involved in this. I think it's right now, the federal government is basically, through federal judges, has gone in and overruled the will of the people in the state numerous times. And I think this is an issue for the citizens of the state to decide best. I believe that family and marriage, I have no problem with people choosing their own path. I do have a problem with them getting special rewards and benefits. And this, the founding fathers, I think, would just be aghast and amazed that we're even having any of these discussions. The thought never even occurred to them about so many of these issues that we look at in so-called modern family arrangements.
Okay.
Russell, right?
I'm sorry?
Russell?
Ruben,
Ruben.
like the sandwich.
Really, I think they have to recognize what a family is. People are born with certain intrinsic rights, the rights to defend themselves. Now, I don't know if you have a family?
Yes.
Okay. More than likely you have children, so you're never you're gonna die for your children. You have an intrinsic right to that family, and the government needs to recognize that you have an intrinsic right. Just as if you have a right to private property, they have to recognize that. That's I don't think that there's really anything that's at odds with the libertarian format. It's just that I didn't necessarily agree with the way that it was written in the platform. That's all.
All right. I'd like to ask a question, and then I'll go back to the audience real fast here. What's the most important issue to the voters of CD15? Mr. Leone.
I think the issue that is going to affect more of the people in a negative and in a definite manner is Obamacare. And I believe it should be repealed. I don't believe that freedom-loving people believe in having mandates forced on them, on being taxed for something they don't do. There are just so many things wrong with Obamacare, and it's the issue that nobody can get away from, almost nobody. There's many other issues. This is kind of like going into a cookie store, bakery, and say you can have one cookie, pick which one you want. Well, that's a tough choice. Who wants to eat just one? But that would be the one I would have to pick.
Okay. Mr. Partain, what do you think? What's the most important issue facing those voters that you want to represent?
I think the most important issue is the economy. It's jobs and being able to earn an income. And I know that Mr. Leone brought up Obamacare. I think we're way past that. Rescinding it is not going to make a difference. It's already destroyed the system as it was set up originally. The only thing that we can do as far as that goes, and I'm just making a response to Mr. Leone, is to make it a voluntary system instead of requiring components to it. But as far as the economy, I don't want to say deregulate because you always need that regulation. Capitalism is just a beast, and you have to understand it, respect it like as such. But we do have this pipeline that I think that we want to build for Canada. They're our neighbors. We should be building that pipeline. That should be one of those major issues of commerce between the states that the president ought to be pressured to sign. I don't see any reason why we can't have other projects. In fact, one of the main projects that made the United States great was our transportation system. And I know President Obama, is wanting to emulate that same project, but I think really what he needs to start concentrating on is our fresh water supply. I know that Governor Perry had brought that up. I have to agree with him. We need to have, we need to be able to distribute that. We always have floods in the north or in the Great Plains. We always have droughts down here, and of course in our southwestern side. You know, if you wanted to create a great project, something to be remembered by, I think Mr. Obama and the Congress could get together, and this is something the government can do. This is something, that would be it. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from you, Mr. Glass?
Getting away from the philosophical to the practical, I wanted to know how much time per week do you guys plan to devote to your campaign going forward? And how much time have you been putting into your campaign? And in other words, one other way to think of it is, are you working for a living and you have to split between campaigning and working for a living, or can you put full time into it, or what's the status?
I think the question is pretty clear. Let's reverse the order this time, Mr. Partain.
I've probably been putting in about 15 hours a week, not many hours. I run an electrical contracting company, and of course I also litigate, and it doesn't leave much time for sleeping. But going forward, you have to learn how to use whatever resources are available to you, and I'm hoping that once I get take the nomination for the Libertarian Party, that I'll be able to bring in the donations to hire people to help me get the word out. Thank you.
Okay, and what's your response, Mr. Leone?
I'm retired, so I don't have any other demands on my time other than my family, my 3 kids, which are pretty much grown and have less and less need for me all the time, and at least they think so. I would spend as much time as I have to give. I don't have any particular demands. I have some other interests, but I would be available to run an active campaign.
Can I follow up with that in terms of level of activity? I'm just trying to get a feel for how much travel in the district. Do you have enough resources or have the ability to raise money to be able to do some minimal amount of advertising, that sort of thing? I'm just trying to get a feel for the level of activity of the campaign.
So how about just a 30-second follow-up on that? And so outside of the number of hours per week, I guess a more all-encompassing activity level kind of metric, you know, in terms of financial contribution and maybe volunteers that you already know that you can bring to bear, et cetera. What level of campaign do you think you're going to be able to run? And we'll go to Mr. Leone first for a quick 30-second add-on.
I don't have a lot of financial resources. I'm running as a libertarian, first of all, because I think campaign reform is something we drastically need. There's way too much money spent on campaigns. The opposition parties will spend whatever they take. If they need more dollars, they'll find them. I think we need to learn to use social interaction, social media, that type of thing more and better. I would be available for some travel. It just depends on if I thought it was a good opportunity, that I could make a good presentation for the party. I don't plan a large-scale advertising campaign because I don't think those will work. And I don't have those resources, to be honest.
Okay. And Mr. Partain, what about that overall level of activity that you think you could bring to bear here?
Well, I never stopped campaigning since 2011. And if you go back and look at some of my comments, I've been on the electronic media for quite a while now. I actually do intend on bringing big advertisement into it, radio spots, things like that. Of course, it does take money. I have a little bit of money to throw at myself. I've made the trips over here to Seguin twice in the last week. I'll be making, this is New Brunswick, sorry. And I'll be making more trips up here in the coming weeks. I don't have a problem traveling. I don't have a problem speaking at forums. I will take whatever forum I can get my hands on. I was glad that they called me up and asked me to come speak here. I guess that's why all that time is consumed, because I'm always traveling around talking and pushing the message around. So as far as dedicated time, I try to mix it together, but dedicated time right now is about 15 hours. As we get closer to the end, it'll probably go 100%.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Partain. And now I'm going to give the debaters an opportunity, briefly, to ask each other a question if they would like. Ms. Partain, is there a question that you'd like to ask to Mr. Leone?
No, I'm happy with Mr. Leone.
Okay. Mr. Leone, is there a question that you'd like to ask Mr. Partain?
Maybe kind of in the sense of a clarification. Johnny mentioned about that capitalism needed to be regulated. I have a little bit of heartburn with that. I kind of think that capitalism is a self-regulating system. When government gets involved, that's when things get messed up. Maybe you could clarify that for me.
Well, it's fairly simple. Whenever you start have people compete, there is a little greed in there, and greed is good. But the thing is that you start developing monopolies and such, and monopolies will destroy contracts of the parties, and that's why you got to have the government to regulate against monopolies. The other thing is that in capitalism, you're going to have a lot of contracting, a lot of agreements, a lot of intentions, and you have to make sure that you have a fair opportunity to protect your interests. You're not going to do that with just a basic capitalist system. You have to have an authority to go to that can enforce conformance to whatever intentions that you agree to. So that's basically what I'm saying. Capitalism is very strong. You can accomplish probably anything with it, but it will destroy itself if you let it run unchecked.
Okay, and in the interest of fairness of time, since Mr. Leone did not get a question, I will allow you a brief, let's say 45-second response to what Mr. Partain just said, if you like. Are you declining to answer?
Me?
Yes, sir. Oh, would you like to respond to what you just heard?
I still kind of wonder a little bit about the term regulation. I don't think we have too few laws. I don't think we have too few regulations. So maybe I'm not quite understanding how you mean that, but it still gives me a little concern.
If I could, I can.
I think it's interesting. Go on, please.
Okay. The government's job is to regulate. The problem that we've been getting into, especially with the voluntary ACA, is that the government decides that it wants to produce, and when it starts producing, it starts to partake in capitalism, and then you, as I said, you get to that problem where it forms monopolies. You have nothing to regulate any breaches. Well, that's a good example right there. President Obama has rewritten the law, Obamacare, ACA, how many times? And who is regulating that? Nobody. So, government's job is to regulate. Capitalism is to produce. When government starts messing around with capital, or putting its fingers into capitalism, trying to emulate the process, it only leads to damage to us. And we need to make sure that they understand their position.
Okay, and I'm going to give you one final opportunity for a rebuttal, Mr. Loewe, and then we're going to move on.
Congress should be taking action to call Mr. Obama on the carpet for his use of that golden pen that he loves to use. We are not a country that makes laws by executive decree, executive order, and his own law was so bad that he has just unilaterally passed his own amendments to it somewhat 30-something times. So there again, it's not capitalism that was the problem. It's unbridled power and no congressional oversight.
Okay. At this point, we are getting ready to wrap this up. I would like to give the audience one final opportunity for one more question, if anyone has one, and if not, yes, ma'am.
It's a pretty basic question, but I think that it will show how good you represent the party, and it'll also show how you will seize the golden opportunity that I feel the Libertarian Party has right now with so many disappointed Democrats and Republicans out there. What do you think what would be your main message, not only to represent the Libertarian Party, but to also provide that alternative to disappointed Republicans and Democrats out there? What would be the main message you would want to drive home, not only to convince other libertarians that you will represent the party properly, but also to bring in more people and to kind of turn heads from the disappointed people out there that feel that they're not represented properly?
Okay, so in 1 minute, encapsulate your message to the disappointed masses. And let's go ahead and we'll start with Mr. Loewe, please.
I think we have to put forth the libertarian message. Less government, lower taxes, more freedom, and then highlight all the points that the two main parties, and especially Mr. Hinojosa, have failed us in all these areas, and we have to offer alternatives. We also have to highlight issues, not just mom and apple pie, but some other issues that I don't hear being talked about anywhere. And I think these are issues that can be open for a lot of thought and a lot of concern once people understand how they're being affected by them. I think these are issues that we can hit home on, and I think Mr. Hinojosa is very vulnerable from his own record and to what we can offer.
All right, and Mr. Partain, your message.
Well, I think the big difference between libertarians and Democrats and Republicans is that you don't really have much of an option with Republicans or the Democrats. They're going to do the same thing no matter who you put in office. So I think that was really a great response from, I think it was one of the prior candidates. You just have to hammer it home that you are really the only option, the only choice available. Otherwise, you just pull the lever for the same thing over and over and over. It's insane. Also, I'd like to think, I believe this is true, that most of the population in our district is conservative. And libertarians represent the conservative point of view, I think, better than, well, I know better than the Democrats, but I think pragmatically better than the Republicans. So I think that's all we have to do is to pound that message. We are a conservative party.
All right. Well, I think we've really reached the end of our allotted time here, and both debaters have had a roughly equal amount. I think it's been very fair. I also think it was a great interchange. I really like that back and forth, especially through the question and answer period. So thanks very much for your participation, folks. we're going to give you a final opportunity for a 2-minute closing statement. So we'll go in reverse order this time, starting with Mr. Partain, please.
All right. Well, thank you for coming today. I don't really have much to say anymore without getting into more theory, but if you're looking for somebody that can, that's willing to stand up and to give Congress a voice again, I can do that. Right now, I think Mr. Leone has brought up the point that Congress could have at any time approached President Obama, told him that he was out of line, that he was exceeding his authority. He didn't do it, or that Congress hasn't done it because Congress hasn't had a voice since about the 70s. That's why we've had so much incursion from the Supreme Court and from the presidential side into the authority of Congress. The branches of government are not equal. Congress is by far the most powerful branch. That's why that's why all that power is divided between all the representatives and the senators. It's time to let these senators know and the congressmen know the power that they actually have and the power that they can restore our rights, our beliefs. Excuse me, the way that we practice our law. They can restore it fairly easily if they were to come together and act like a Congress. That's not going to happen with somebody that's willing to politic, to compromise. I'm thinking I like Ted Cruz. I like the way he does things. We need somebody like that in Congress. I can do that. So if I happen to make it into nomination, I'll be pushing that message. Thank you.
Mr. Leone, your 2-minute closing statement, please.
Well, we've talked a lot about mom, apple pie, limited government, smaller government, lower taxes, typical libertarian speech that we all, I hope, believe in, and it is important. But I wanted to also highlight what I call some emerging topics that I don't hear being talked about, and yet I think could be important and could be issues on which we can truly offer a specific, real alternative. One of those is GMOs. We need to stop Monsanto and big agribusiness from killing family farms by taking over our food supply and eliminating natural foods. This goes into also truth in labeling. Ted Cruz is against fair and honest labeling laws that allow customers to make informed and free choices. We're not talking about increasing regulation. We're talking about ensuring customers know what they're eating. Consumers can make a free choice only if they have information. School choice for all. Competition will make schools better and more responsible to parents. Another, cable TV choice. Why should you pay for channels you don't watch and which you disapprove of? We should be able to go pick our TV channels the same way we pick our food and goods in stores. Chess in schools. This is proven to improve test scores and analytical ability. Comal ISD started a program on chess in schools this past year. McAllen, the schools there have been very proactive in putting chess in schools, and I believe that they have shown that it improves test scores. Another area that I think does affect some people very directly is we need to reform eminent domain. This is simply government thievery, especially when it is for the profit of outside developers.
Final thoughts, sir.
In some cases, land has been taken and then sold to outside developers. No toll roads and no mileage charges that restrict our freedom of mobility. A major national poll recently found that 92% of people disapprove of Congress's job performance. You can't get 92% of the people to agree on anything, except maybe that.
I'm sorry I'm gonna have to end it there, but thank you very much, Mr. Leone. Well, once again, I thought that was a really a very cordial, very respectful discourse, and I really personally appreciate it. I learned a lot. I thought it was extremely informative. So thank you very much to both of our candidates. A big round of applause. And I suppose with that, I'll either turn it back over to our Master of Ceremonies for some closing thoughts, or we'll send it there.
Thank you, Kurt. We're going to wrap it up. I would like to extend a special thank you to Tom and Kathy Glass who came out today. Tom, is there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I noticed there's another congressional candidate, Libertarian Party, in the room, and I'd like, if we could have Ruben stand here.
Yeah.
Right, Ruben?
Ruben?
Yeah, just say your names real quick. And we'll
I'm Ruben Corbelan. I live in San Antonio, Texas, beautiful place. I'm running for District 23rd in Texas for U.S. Congress. So I guess there's a lot of people running for Congress this time. So I feel like I'm part of the team here. And I'm new for the Libertarian Party, but I'm really excited, and I'm planning to do an active campaign as much as I can. I have very good help in San Antonio with the folks that are helping me there, guide me and tell me, come here, come there. And I think that we're going to do pretty good.
Thank you. So Tom and Kathy, thank you as well for coming out. It's always great to see you guys. You guys, thank you. This has been a great night. It's great for some of the county chairs to hear these awesome points of view. Some great candidates this year. I'm really excited about the party. So let's go out there and give them HE from the hockey sticks.